So
Nobody knew.
now we're
What's
working.
15 feet?
Now we're working on the building, and we're getting close to the meeting where we're going to have to make our presentations, and the board's going to vote. And of course, CompuWare was on the other side. They were married with St. Pete and the Dome.
Gee,
So
that was the worst
we
part.
think we're going to get our funding from the county. And I'm up here making the presentation to the county commissioners. Phil and Mel are down getting
West
ready
Palm.
for the presentation at the Breakers in West Palm. And I'm with the Coliseum group. We had a group that were going to build the arena next to the stadium. And we go and make our presentation. It was a Monday night, and we got shot down.
Yeah.
Here we had to make the presentation that Thursday or Friday. And our permanent funding for the permanent arena was done. The county pulled it out. And we go, I remember going with Jimmy Cusack and Mark Gannis and Ed McGinty with the Coliseum group to an IHOP, and we go, what are we going to do? We got no money for the building. And Jimmy Cusack goes,
Did we ever find out why they
well,
pulled
it was politics. They decided they didn't.
to go with the other group?
Yeah. Well, no, they just decided they weren't going to put in $90 million into a building. So Jim Cusack, he was friends with Al McLeod, who I was very friendly with, had a Barnett Bank, which was a great bank. They eventually got bought out by Barnett. And the president in Tampa at that time was Al McLeod. And Jimmy Cusack talked to him, and he came up with a letter and says, we'll fund the building.
Yep.
And
Can you believe that?
He typed up a letter and said, "You've got the financing."
He said, no, it was just a letter that says, we will fund the
the
building.
building. We'll make sure it gets done. For a $90 million commitment. Of course, they never put in a penny.
But it sure helped us.
So you take that down to the owners' meetings?
Yes,
Yeah.
I brought it down with
He
me.
brought it down with him. He
And
flew
Jimmy
down.
Cusack came down, and
Yeah.
we made the presentation. I'll never forget, we were sitting.
And Mayor came down. The mayor came
she
down.
was great.
She was
Sandy
terrific.
Friedman.
Sandy, she really was great at that.
And what was she good at?
Well, she came and talked to them in front of all the owners and stuff like that. And we had already put together a video of the area, the beaches, the girls, whatever, the restaurants and stuff like that.
We had the largest crowd
Ever
in
to watch a
history.
game in history at a baseball facility.
And that actually convinced a lot of the owners that it could go there.
that one night, that one day.
And so we go there and we get this letter from
huge
Al McLeod, and we were sitting around in the media room and we're looking at the papers all around North America. Oh, Phil Esposito's group, 100 to 1 odds,
Yeah,
200 to 1,
yeah,
80 to 1. They'll never get it. It's going to be Carmanos.
yeah.
Well, guess what?
Did Carmanos own the Hartford Whalers at that
No.
time? Or he was not in it.
No.
He would own the Hartford Whalers.
He
and
bought
then-
them after he didn't get this.
And then Carolina, moved him to Carolina.
Yes.
That's the cliff notes on that.
So they had I think an OHL team at the time, junior
Yeah.
hockey team.
Okay.
And of course, he had CompuWare. He had plenty of money, but they did one thing that we didn't do. And Phil tells the story best
What's that?
about compromising.
Oh, compromising. They wanted to compromise, so they came into the room.
Let me stop you there. The night before, they tried
The
to.
night before they take the vote?
Yes, before the
here we are,
presentation.
push to
So
shove.
they come to us and they say, the CompuWare group, look, let's join forces.
Yeah.
And
how it's gonna go.
let's do it together. Let's join forces, and we'll have a really strong team here. And Phil, can run the hockey, and so on and so on. So they set a meeting for later that night. But before the meeting, they didn't know that Jimmy Cusack with the Coliseum
that's
group,
right.
his room was next to one of the guys from the CompuWare group.
I think it was
The walls
lawyer
were paper thin
at the Breakers.
at the Breakers. I don't think CompuWare or Rutherford ever knew
Never
about
knew.
this. And they were having a meeting of what they were going to say when they met with us. And they said, well, we'll tell them anything they want to hear.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get the franchise, they're all gassed. They're
all
out of here.
They're out of here.
And Jimmy Cusack heard this all. And he comes back and tells us. And
Then the big guy, the lawyer, who was the biggest man
I've ever seen.
He was huge. He was like 6'4", 6'5", but he was also 6'4", 6'5". This way. He couldn't sit in a chair. He had to sit on the bed.
He was a lawyer.
Okay, he was a lawyer for them, and he starts explaining. And finally, I lost my patience, and I said to him, "Listen," I said, "if I could throw you out the window, I would, but I can't do that. You're just too fat. So get the hell out of here. We'll take our own chances." And he looked. He said, "You'll be sorry." I says, "Get the hell out of here." Out of this room, I said. And he left, and we sat there, and I remember Mel going, "Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?" I said, "Mel, it's going to be okay. We'll take our chances with these owners. They know that we can get this thing done. They know it. I've talked to all of them."
And meanwhile, while the presentations were going, they went first. Jack Crumpy comes out and tells Phil, he says, they're trying to get the price down.
Down to 35 million.
Yeah, I thought it was 30 million.
They're using their presentation to negotiate the price.
They're
Right.
trying to negotiate.
And he says, don't try to negotiate.
So then
Phil-
when we went in there, I'll never forget it. We were talking, plan a 6 expansion. I'm sitting there, and I told mostly all of them, especially that one guy I didn't want to talk at all. One of our guys. I'd rather not mention his name because he aggravates me so much. And I said, "Nobody talk. I know these guys." And Marcelo Bu said, "Monsieur Esposito."
He was a Quebec Nordique.
Yeah,
president.
he owned the Quebec Nordique before he sold them to Colorado. He says, "Are you willing to pay the $50 million for the franchise?" And I said, "Well, the plan of 6 expansion says right here, $50 million is the franchise fee. Are you telling me that it's not worth it? Are you telling me you're going to give us what are you trying to tell me?" He said, No, would you be willing to pay?" I said, "If that's what the price is, yes. That's what the price is. That's what it is. We never ever budged from that. We'll pay the 50. Well, then we found out later they were all trying to negotiate.
And you also told him that made them all happy.
I said, "Remember this, we'll pay the 50 million, but all of your franchises are going up.
They're all worth 50 million.
They're all at least 50 million.
And they weren't at the time.
No,
There were
correct.
22 teams, but they weren't at the
There
time.
was 10 or 15 million dollars they were valued at.
Right.
You know, the franchise fee went up. It's like the Vegas 750 million. So now you've got to go above that
Right.
to really get to, unless you buy one in dire straits like Arizona or something like that, you know. But I remember saying no negotiating. That's what they want. That's what it is. I was on the marketing committee. I knew that was the price was going to be, 50 million. And there's no
So
negotiating.
you walk out of that room.
We walk out of that room, and I don't know, I just felt like we were going to get it.
Yeah.
And when they announced it, Mel Lowell was sitting beside me, and Henry was on the other side, and we had a little Japanese guy behind us. I forget who it was. I don't know their names, but I remember Mel goes, "Oh my God, what are we going to do now?" And the guy behind me, the Japanese guy, says, "What do we do now?" I said, "Now you pay." He goes, "Atro."
But I have to tell you an amazing story, and it speaks to how much faith the league had, and in particular John Ziegler.
Yeah, Ziegler.
In you
When-
and in Phil.
And when
Our
we
organization.
get the franchise, in Phil, it was Phil that they had faith in, and John Ziegler had faith in. They walk us through the bowels of the breakers, a huge place, through the
Yeah.
kitchen and all these
Wonderful
tunnels
historic hotel
Yeah.
on the ocean.
And so we're coming, finally get up to the meeting room area, and we come around the corner, and from the other side, from the other direction, comes the Ottawa Senators group. We're being led by Jerry Helper, who ended up working for us, and the senators, Bruce Firestone,
Bruce Firestone.
and
I forget the kid's name. He ended up being the manager after, and
Bridgman. Mel Bridgman.
no, Mel was there for the expansion. Mel Bridgman.
Malarca, maybe. In any event, so they're coming from one side. We see each other, and then we're coming in, and there's big double doors, and we come into the double doors, and we both get there at the same time, and we walk in together. Phil's leading our group. The entire Board of Governors room stands up, and they're yelling, "Espo, Espo, Espo."
I get goosebumps still to this day because these guys, I mean, I think it's because they screwed me on my salary so many times that they felt sorry for me.
So, but then while they're doing this, and I was right there, John Ziegler comes up and he had tears coming down his
He
face.
did.
And he said, he grabbed Phil and he said, "Phil, this is for you. We have faith in you. We know you can sell it.
Yep.
Go do it."
Go do it.
And
That's
they
what he
had
said.
faith in Phil's ability to help expand the National Hockey
Now,
League.
there were a couple of owners that called me Barnum and Bailey. You know, the guy from New York, Javits, forgot his name now. And then, of course, Jacobs did too.
Yeah, no, well, that happened
Jacobs
later.
in Boston.
Well, he ended up
He
helping
ended
us
up
later.
helping us because he got the concessions.
Delaware North. So is this before the video that we all see, that historic video of Ziegler going to the podium and announcing the two teams?
Yes,
Yeah.
This
That
is
was right
before.
before.
You know you have it.
Yeah.
yeah,
They know they have it.
right.
And Ziegler goes to the podium and does that
Yeah.
for the world. You
Yeah.
know about it. How about that? What was that?
And,
moment?
I mean, it was unbelievable. And as quickly as that happened, I don't know how, but he calls his wife and she gets going right away. And I think Mark, too,
My wife was a CPA and the first controller for the team,
controller for the team.
Rosella, and she was back in Tampa, and we had to set up a phone bank. And Rosella got that done. We got thousands of calls within 24 hours for
tickets.
reservations for
Reservations.
season tickets. And Benny Lazara helped us. That was our office, and we did it through the law office, and Rosella got it done.
It was unbelievable how fast. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And then Henry got home early. I stayed, and then I came back, and when I got off the plane, these two police officers, and I'm wondering, what's going on here?
On the next episode of Lightning Lore.
Anybody throws anything on the ice, you grab them and you get them the heck out of here. Throw them out.